High up in the mountains of Japan, there's a village pressed tight into the valleys, with old cedar trees towering all around. Now, for generations, people there whispered about something that happened. Something so strange, most refused to talk about it. One man walked away changed forever. His neighbor marked in a way he never saw coming. But before we begin, if you're drawn to stories with mystery, meaning, and the otherworldly, to legends passed down as truth, then this is the channel for you. I share new stories each week, drawn from folklore, forgotten history, and strange events that linger at the edge of belief. So tap the like button and subscribe with all notifications on so you never miss what's next. Let's begin. Long ago, in a mountain village, lived a gentle old woodcutter. Now, his days were simple. Chopping firewood, tending a small garden, walking the same paths that his father had walked before him. But for all his kindness and quiet ways, his face carried a burden. He had this giant lump that hung from his right cheek. It was heavy, swollen, grotesque. Now, it wasn't small either. It bulged almost like a clenched fist, dragging the skin down until his whole face was uneven. Now, he tried everything. Herbal remedies that he got from the market town. He even got these charms from shrines. Now, doctors told him the growth was bound so deep that these blood vessels were all wrapped around it, and cutting it away would risk killing him. Everything he tried, none of it worked. The lump, on the other hand, only grew larger and heavier and more painful. So villagers and neighbors pitied him. Children, of course, just laughed at him constantly. And a lot of people just kind of avoided him completely. Now, his wife consoled him, but she was often caught kind of sighing. She didn't think he could hear, but he could hear. All of this just weighed very heavy on his heart. Now, this was the obstacle that defined his life. Every morning when he got up and went to the river and splashed water on his face, he felt this thing pulling at his skin. Or every time that he would bend over to sharpen his axe on the grindstone, he would see the shadow of this lump just cast right on the grindstone itself. So he didn't dream of riches or titles. He just dreamt of being free of this painful lump. Now, one autumn afternoon, he went to the hills to collect firewood, as he often does. The day began clear, but as time passed, the sky kind of thickened. By late afternoon, a storm suddenly broke out. Rain was pouring, lightning splitting the peaks. Now, there was no hut nearby, there were no houses, but he stumbled into this large hollow of an ancient tree. It was just big enough for him to take cover inside. So as he's sitting inside and waiting, the thunder rolled away eventually, and the last light of the sun broke through the clouds. At that point, he heard something. Drums, flutes, the sound of voices rising in song. So at first he thought, there's a group of travelers coming this way. But then these shadows fell across the clearing, long, twisted shapes. Now, from his hiding place in the tree, he saw them. A company of beings unlike anything he had ever imagined. Some towered like giants. Their mouths were so huge they stretched from ear to ear. Others had these horns curling out from their brows. Some even had eyes so large it seemed to swallow their whole faces. They were fearsome, but they weren't solemn. They laughed, they feasted, they drank from jars as big as barrels. The old man clutched his chest, but curiosity tugged at him. He leaned closer. At the center sat their leader, this massive horned figure, sake cup in hand, watching his followers dance. After some time, he scowled. "This is boring. Is there no one among you who can actually dance?" The old man froze. His heart pounded. As he shifted to try and hide himself deeper, one of the demons caught sight of him. He cried out, "Look! A human in the tree! Get him!" Rough hands grabbed him from the tree, claws tearing at his robe, and these teeth snapping right at his ear. So they then hauled him straight to the fire pit. The mob then shouted how tender his flesh would be, and they were debating, do we boil him or do we roast him whole? Now, terror just nearly choked him. And in this moment of desperation, right as they're about to put him on the fire, he yells out, "If you eat me, you'll never see me dance." The words startled them. Curiosity cutting through hunger, they loosened their grip. And only then did he bow, spread his arms, and begin to dance. All of his life, he had loved to dance at harvest festivals, wedding, even in the solitude of his own yard. And now that passion, that deep passion, poured out of him as if his life depended on it, because it did. He stamped his feet, spun with his sleeves wide, bent low, and leapt high. His body, though old and worn from labor, moved with years of practice rhythm. He gave them every ounce of joy he had left. The demons then clapped and roared with delight. Even the horned chief leaned forward, eyes gleaming. Excellent! A mortal with true skill! When he finally collapsed in a bow, they pressed a cup of wine into his hands. "Drink with us, old one!" He sipped, trembling. "I am honored, my lords. I never thought to share your company." The chief laughed, shaking the ground. "You must come again. Tomorrow night, you will dance for us once more." The old man hesitated. Tomorrow night, I will come, yes." "Then you must leave a pledge," the chief said, "a token, so we know that you'll return." The demons muttered. One of the attendants stepped forward, eyes fixed on his face. "What is that thing on your cheek?" "Surely it is his greatest treasure. You know, mortals just love things like that. Make him leave it with us." The old man's hand pressed against his cheek. "Treasure?" The leader nodded slowly. Yes, that's a good one. That will do." And then this massive hand reached out. These claws brushed against his face, and the growth just slid free, as if plucked like a ripe fruit from a branch. The weight that had haunted him for decades was gone. He touched his cheek in disbelief. It was smooth, whole, light. The demons cheered as if they had won some prize, passing the lump between them with glee. Then in a blink, the company vanished into the night. The old man staggered home, laughing, crying, pressing his hand against his cheek again and again. When he got home, his wife gasped when she saw his face, touching him as if it was an illusion. Where did the lump go? That night, for the first time in years, they slept without the shadow of the lump. By the next morning, the entire village had heard of what had happened. Now, next door to them lived this other old man, but this guy was very mean-spirited. He was envious, but he also had a lump on his face. His lump was on the left side. So when he heard of the tale, this jealousy just burned in him. If demons would take one lump, then they surely would take another. So that night, he crept to the hollow tree and hid inside. Sure enough, the strange beings returned, feasting and laughing. "Well, where's the dancer from yesterday? Check the tree." The jealous neighbor then sprang out. "Here I am! I am the one you praised!" He opened a fan, swaying awkwardly, stomping and flapping without rhythm. The demons just watched in silence. Then a ripple of disgust spread through them. The leader snarled, "This is not the same man. This is mockery." The demons grumbled, saying they disliked that another mortal had taken his place. But a deal was a deal, and the pledge had to be returned to the dancer. The horned chief reached into his robe, pulled forth the great lump that he had taken the night before, and chucked it right at his face. It struck the man right in the cheek, and then it just clung there, latched deep within. Now, that guy had two lumps, one on each side of his face, sagging like twin gourds. The demons roared with laughter, then vanished, leaving him alone. He stumbled back to the village, a pitiful sight. The grumpy old man carried twice the burden, 2 heavy lumps pulling down his face, while his neighbor now walked light and free. This story reminds us that humility and kindness can turn even burdens into blessings. We see that what we carry in patience may one day be lifted, but what we grasp in selfishness only grows heavier. Now, before we go, I want to thank you for being here. Every time you watch, like, or share, you help breathe life into these stories. For just the cost of a cup of coffee each month, you can join the Campfire Circle, where members get early access to videos, behind-the-scenes updates, and our exclusive Myth and Meaning series, where we dive deeper into the legends I tell and uncover the truths behind them. But your support doesn't just keep the fire burning, it fuels growth. It means I can dig deeper into forgotten tales, polish every story, and bring these stories to life at a higher level. This channel doesn't just belong to me, it belongs to us. And every member who joins the circle isn't just a viewer anymore. You're part of the foundation that keeps these stories alive. So, if you'd like to preserve the legends that deserve to be told and step closer to the fire, click join below. I can't wait to welcome you inside, and I'll see you in the next story.